You are about to listen to a free portion of the Young Turks. To podcast the complete show, sign up for membership at tytnetwork.com/membership.
Well, the Young Turks, a great day for you guys. Okay, for people who have never watched the show before, they got to be thinking, what is this? All right, first of all, we have a fascinating town hall tonight. All 5 candidates will be there. Wait a minute, there aren't 5 candidates on the Republican side anymore. Certainly aren't 5 candidates on the Democratic side. There's only 5 candidates left, period. Republicans and Democrats. Now, they won't be debating together on the same stage. That would be awesome. They should definitely do that. We invite them to do that on the Young Turks. But they will all be doing a town hall on CNN one by one tonight. And it'll be the first time there's a town hall that involves Republicans and Democrats. So we will cover that for you live, as always. TYTnetwork.com/live. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell Randy Gonzalez. That is going to happen at 8 o'clock Eastern sharp, okay? And then I've got news for you on Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, of course. A little bit later in the program, Hillary Clinton's hit list. Fascinating. Who's on it? How do you get on it? Is it a real thing? Yes, it is a real thing. I'll be pretty pissed if I'm not on it at some point. No, just kidding, just kidding. It's mainly for politicians, I think. Okay, and why it's so important, the race. That's also an important matter that we will get to a little bit later in the program. Okay, I got to go. I got 1,000 stories for you guys. Let's go to election results. Yes, we have election results today. There's major elections coming up tomorrow, but there was one today. Democrats living abroad. Who are they going to vote for? I predicted earlier, we don't have footage of it, but trust me on this, I think you will when I tell you, that it was going to be Hillary Clinton. Wrong! It's Bernie Sanders, and actually by a very large margin. Sanders took 69% of the vote to earn 9 delegates to the National Convention in August. Hillary Clinton took 31% and 4 delegates. So that's a huge win for Bernie Sanders. In terms of the size of the win, in terms of the number of delegates involved, not huge at all, right? So these are all the Democrats that are living abroad. They vote in different ways, mail, fax, they can go in person. Yes, I said fax, email, and apparently they are massively in favor of Bernie Sanders. I thought a lot of Democrats living abroad, just Americans living abroad, tend to be wealthier, so they might support Hillary Clinton. No, maybe they're open-minded and hence support Bernie Sanders. So, but I just want to give you one country in particular. Now, this is all over the world, the UK, Australia, everybody vote, right? These are Americans that live in those countries. But I wanted to give you Afghanistan because I was amused by it. In Afghanistan, for example, 7 Democrats cast votes. 2 were for Clinton and 5 for Sanders. Maybe I didn't take that into account enough. Like people in Afghanistan being like, get us out of here, Bernie. Okay, yeah, I'm for Bernie. I feel the burn. I'm in Kandahar. Goddamn right I feel the burn. Get me out. I'm still alive, but I'm badly burned. Okay. So it's not an enormous victory in terms of delegate count, but it is 1 down and 9 to go. So why do I say that? Because I believe that after the significant losses in the last Super Tuesday, where Hillary Clinton won all 5 states, now she narrowly won Missouri, and the Illinois win was not very big. And yes, he beat expectations if you were looking at the polls. But she won all 5 states. You got to keep it real. It was a great night for her, a very bad night for Bernie Sanders. She picked up a lot of delegates, especially in Florida, and the South still came in strong for her. But the idea for Bernie Sanders has been, okay, yes, all 11 southern states voted first. She's on the map, and we've gotten half of that, the election done with. We got a whole other half. We're going west. Well, okay, in order for that to be true, you can't just beat expectations in the polling anymore. You've got to actually win. So there are 10 states after that Super Tuesday, people call it different names, where I think Bernie Sanders has got to win 9 out of 10. I'm going to keep it real. He's got to run the board because not only does he have to start winning states, and he's won 9 states overall, but he's got to start picking up delegates that are going to outnumber Hillary Clinton's delegates. Now, the idea that Hillary Clinton has all those superdelegates locked up is nonsense. Those superdelegates switched in 2008 after Obama won the vote. A lot of the ones that were pledged for Hillary Clinton actually went for Obama. So don't count the superdelegates. But even so, Bernie Sanders is significantly behind. So he's got to win some of these states and win some of them big. Now, there's a nice big win in terms of the size of the win. Again, for the third time now, even though it's a small number of delegates. Now, here's the upcoming Democratic primaries and caucuses leading up to New York. On March 22nd, that's tomorrow, we've got Utah, Idaho, and Arizona. Arizona is very important. Utah and Idaho are caucuses, very likely to go to Bernie Sanders. Arizona is less certain, much, much less certain. If he wins Arizona, okay, maybe he runs the table. If he doesn't, that hurts. That's, of course, going to be on tytnetwork.com/live. That's where we do all of our coverage. March 26th, you've got caucus in Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington. Washington is a very important state. It's one of the larger states left on the board, likely to go to Bernie Sanders. If he doesn't get it, it might end right there. I'm keeping it real with you. Look, that's our job, to tell you what our perspective is, but also to be honest with you in where things stand. He's got to win in Washington. He has to. That's the state of Washington. April 5th, you've got Wisconsin. April 9th, you've got Wyoming. And then on April 19th, you've got New York. So New York, obviously, enormous. If he's got any hope of catching Hillary Clinton, he's got to win New York. And by that time, if he actually has run the table, he's got to pick up a good amount of cushion in New York. Now, New York is one of Hillary Clinton's home states. She was a senator from there, but everybody knew that she moved in there to get that open Senate seat. But it's also quite liberal. So it'll be interesting to see which way that goes. If Bernie Sanders actually runs the table and he gets 10 out of 10, okay, then he's right back in this thing. But it's got to be close to that. He can't get 6 out of 10 and hope for the best, because he won't be able to catch her in delegates if that happens. So he's on the board, 1 down, 9 to go. Let's see how it goes. Okay. That's that. But now, of course, the Democratic establishment is going to want to do something else. An article out today in Politico quoting a dozen Democratic legislators who say, Bernie, come on, let's wind this thing down. Come on. You've been in the race too long. Up and at him. Now, they don't want to say you should quit because they don't want to piss off his voters, which I'll get to in a minute. There's strategy behind that, and that's very important, right? But at the same time, they want to tell him, shh, don't criticize Hillary, okay? Know your role. So let's look into it, see what we got here. Politico reports Democratic senators of all stripes are as impressed as they are surprised by Bernie Sanders' insurgent campaign. But the time has come, they say, for Sanders to start winding things down. Oh, the condescension dripping from that is wonderful. Okay. Oh, it's hard not to get pissed when you read something like that, right? Good job. A little pat on the head. Nice job, Bernie. Now run along and give us all your voters. Okay, again, we'll get to that in a second. They explain nearly a dozen Democratic lawmakers suggested in interviews that Sanders should focus more on stopping Donald Trump and less on why he believes Clinton's stance on trade, financial regulation, and foreign policy would make her a flawed president. In other words, www.shh.com. Don't criticize Hillary. Now, why would he focus his energy on fighting against Donald Trump? He's not running against Donald Trump right now. He's running against Hillary Clinton. And again, bow your head, know your role. Your job is to energize all these people, right? And then hand them over to us so that they could vote against Donald Trump and in favor of Hillary Clinton. Now, it would be annoying if you pointed out all of her problems. Cut it out already. By the way, those are also our problems. Ah, yes, they are indeed. We'll also get to that. First, let me give you some quotes from these politicians. Senator Claire McCaskill says, what's important is not whether or not he gets out, but how he campaigns. Explaining, hey, run against Trump. Don't attack Hillary Clinton, okay? So now this is the same Claire McCaskill who supported Obama over Clinton and has been on Hillary Clinton's enemies list, according to the same Politico in a different article. And now she's trying to make good. Hey, Hillary, no, I'm okay. I'm there for you. Remember when I hit Bernie Sanders and told him to shut up already in the middle of the campaign? Okay, very good, Claire, very good. Now we go to Harry, Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid. On when he's going to get out, not if, but when he's going to get out, according to Reid, he says that's something he's going to have to decide. She's going to be the nominee. Okay, well, the establishment says so. Sorry for disrespecting you by voting. Okay, Politico explains, Sanders has repeatedly dismissed Clinton supporters as part of the establishment, which Democratic senators interpret as showing disrespect for them. To which I say, goddamn right it is. So if you feel disrespected by that, well, sad day for you. So you are the establishment. You have been for Hillary Clinton, who is clearly an establishment candidate. A lot of you have the same problems with those issues on trade, financial regulation, foreign policy. A lot of you voted for those wars. A lot of you want to let corporations do whatever they want in TPP and override our sovereignty and get rid of our environmental laws. And the list goes on. And then, oh, I'm sorry, do you feel disrespected? No. Here's the disrespect. The one that you show towards the voters. When you pretend to be progressive, when you need their votes, and then you get into office, you go, okay, now, corporations that donated to me, how can I help you? See, that's disrespectful. Okay. Politico explains, at the same time, Democrats need to tread carefully in how they treat Sanders. His legion of followers will be critical to getting elected, Clinton getting elected, not to mention scores of Democratic Senate and House candidates. You see, that's the strategy all along. Hey, Bernie, good job. Get all these young people, actual liberals, get them all riled up, people who get their news from online and know how corrupt we are, and then just hand them over to us. Know your role, Bernie. Know your role. You're on notice, okay? What we expect you to do. Now, again, they don't want to be too harsh on him, though. That's why they're not saying get out right away. They're just saying don't ever criticize Hillary Clinton. Because, remember, we got to corral those guys and bring them into the Democratic Party. To do what? What are you going to do with them? Are you going to be against TPP? No. Are you going to do anything to get money out of politics? No. Are you going to do any of the things that we expect you to do? Any of the things that Bernie Sanders is promising? Breaking up the big banks. Are you guys going to break up the big banks? No. You know you're not. So, but Bernie, make sure you trick your voters into supporting the Democratic Party establishment, and don't call us the establishment. Okay, now, two politicians give you a sense, a little bit clearer sense that's the direction that they're going. Senator Jeanne Shaheen from New Hampshire. It's good for Sanders to continue to raise the concerns that people have, but I think it ought to be in the context of this is the difference between the Democrats and Republicans in this race. Why don't you make that case? Aren't you a Democratic senator? Why don't you tell me the difference between Democrats and Republicans? Often, I see a lot of similarities. You like to use these things as to get right. Oh, wait. We're going to need a liberal Supreme Court nominee. Make sure you bow your head and vote for a Democratic Party, okay? And then what did Obama do? That was one of his main reasons for voting for Obama. Okay, great. We vote for Obama. And he put two liberals on the Supreme Court, okay, especially on social issues. On corporate issues, a lot of them vote with the corporations. That's why this is the most pro-corporate Supreme Court in United States history. But now he puts Merrick Garland up. The guy doesn't believe in getting money out of politics. He's voted with Citizens United. He doesn't believe in a great number of progressive ideas and philosophies. In fact, the only one that anybody could find and keeps quoting over and over is that once he chastised the NRA. Wow! He's got one progressive position. Well, we presume he's pro-choice. We don't even know that. But we do know that he voted with Dick Cheney on taking away habeas corpus rights from the Guantanamo detainees. That's rights not only in our Constitution that date back to the Magna Carta. So if you've got a pro-Dick Cheney Supreme Court justice that a Democratic president gave us, tell me again the difference between Democrats and Republicans. You see, if there was a real difference and you guys voted that way, well, we wouldn't need to support Bernie. We'd support all of you. But you aren't there. And you think you're so clever. And you're going to trick everybody into thinking, oh, man, not only to hold your nose and vote for Hillary Clinton, if that's what it comes to in the general election, but get excited. Yeah, good luck with that. Senator Brian Schatz says from Hawaii, I think that Senator Sanders has built a movement. By the way, that movement existed. He has just coalesced it. And that whatever happens, the two big tribes of the Democratic Party will be able to unite at the convention and be so much stronger. God, man, there's no end to their condescension. They think you're children. They think, oh, we're the adults here. We're the serious ones. We know Hillary Clinton is, of course, going to agree with the Republicans on all the corporate positions. Oh, minimum wage, yes. She says it's too low. Well, does she want to go as high as Bernie Sanders? Of course not. TPP, she spoke out in favor of 45 times. Now, in the primary, she says she's against it. You think she's going to be against it when she's president? Well, how much do you want to bet that she's for TPP when she's president? If that's what it comes to, okay? So we're not the ones with too little information. That's, oh, millennials, please. They don't know what they're talking about. No. You guys are the ones that programmed everybody with the propaganda on television. No, the people that get their news online, which a lot of the younger voters are, have access to actual information, real information. We know what Hillary Clinton's positions are. We know what Bernie Sanders' positions are. We know what your positions are. That's what drives you crazy. So, I don't know to what degree Bernie Sanders supporters will vote for Hillary Clinton if she's the nominee. I do know that the idea that this establishment has that, oh yes, well, we give these little kids a pat on the head and a little bit of candy, and then they'll come into our van and they'll love the establishment and be excited to be one big team, is not going to happen. Because that movement actually, this is what you don't get. It isn't about Bernie Sanders. And if Bernie Sanders said, hey, Hillary Clinton is wonderful, Claire McCaskill is wonderful, every Senate Democrat is wonderful, and you guys should support them in their efforts to make sure TPP gets passed, as an example, or that the big banks are not broken up, as an example, well, then he would lose the movement. See, we're not like you guys. We don't believe in a cult of personality. We're not knuckleheads with low information that we got fed from television. The movement exists and attach itself to Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders has a record of 40 years of honesty and fighting for those same principles. Now, if he violates that, well, the movement isn't going to be with him. You think you could just, like their standard operating procedure, well, we have a politician that's a bit of a problem. Well, let's bribe him and let's, find a way to entice him into bringing his voters to us, and then we'll do whatever the hell we want. That's not how it works. No. We're not on notice. Bernie Sanders isn't on notice. You're on notice. We're paying attention to everything you do and every vote you do. And the Democratic Party that thinks, oh, we'll just belittle, condescend to liberals and progressives and trick them into voting for us, those days are over. If you don't believe me, keep going in the direction you're going. Let's see how it turns out for you. Okay. They do get me riled up. Okay, now I have two Trump stories for you guys. Now, you guys have seen a lot of violence at the Trump rallies. This one's got a twist. It is an African-American Trump supporter who's beating up a white guy. Nice little twisty twist. So we've got a black guy supporting the orange candidate. Fascinating. Let's go to Tucson and find out what happened. That turns out to be Tony Petway. He's an airman assigned to the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base and decided to take it upon himself to, as usual, sucker punch a protester. It's usual for Trump rallies. The unusual part was his race. That's why the cops seem to be at a loss as to what to do. Now, normally we let the Trump supporters kick the crap out of the protesters first, and then we don't ever arrest them. We just arrest the guy who got his ass kicked. But that guy is black. What do we do? Oh, I got an idea. Let's pause for a while, let him kick the crap out of the guy, and then since he's black, we'll arrest him. Here, watch it again, see how it turned out. Now, look, an argument could be made that it took the cops a while to get there. The security guy couldn't handle it by himself. But boy, they did seem to mosey on up there fairly nonchalantly as the guy was kicking him while he was down. Like, oh, that guy's being viciously assaulted. We'll get there. We'll get there. Oh, the guy doing it is black. Okay, hey, turn around. Let's handcuff you. To my knowledge, that's the first Trump supporter who's ever been arrested on the spot for an assault. Now, there's been almost a dozen very clear assaults we've shown you on the show here. Nobody ever gets arrested. This one, they're like, oh, okay. Is he done with him? Great. Okay, now let's take him in. Okay. So, look, he's an airman, apparently. He's got every right to express himself, but not with fists. So he has been arrested for suspicion of misdemeanor assault. I can confirm that suspicion. You saw right there. I know that that's technically what they say. By the way, misdemeanor assault? What's a felony assault in Arizona? Jesus, if that's a misdemeanor, yeah, I hate to see a felony. Okay. I like the Trump supporter. The Trump supporters also appeared to be a little confused, like, wait, who do we root for here? I know, I'm reading way too much into it. And then one of the Trump supporters wearing an orange shirt in honor of Donald Trump's hair. Here, show the clip one last time. The second. Come on, you know you're black. Turn around. He's like, yeah, I know. I'm guy with a giant orange shirt. You know, I'll say one last thing about this. It is weird. Like that video looks so much like the other video. Remember the hick who sucker punched the other guy and then said, next time we'll kill him? In that case, it was a black guy getting punched. Both of them, like waiting in the stands, waiting, sucker punch. I mean, I have no idea what's going on there, but they are weirdly consistent in how they attack the protesters.
You know, as you said, we're reading too much into it, so let's start with that. But, I mean, from what I'm going to say, I think there's a mindset. Of course, there's some black Trump supporters, inexplicably, but there are. So I think it seemed like he's a little upset that they keep pointing out that these are racist rallies, and the rallies are all centered around excluding the other and constantly telling how much better they are than the people that they're going to exclude and kick out and get rid of and do this and then beat down and keep from being real Americans and make it like it used to be. So there's a mindset when you're that entrenched, which, again, I don't know the level of his support. But in thinking that, he's like, you know what? I can't let this be. It's going to be obviously seeing that me, a black guy, is going to beat this guy down, and they're going to arrest, and then maybe it'll look like this isn't a racist event anymore. I got to support the people that I'm supporting. For whatever reason, he supports Trump. Maybe it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with whatever else he said. Maybe he hates Latinos. Maybe he hates Muslims and he's afraid. But in general, I think there's this image that he's looking to portray. Because some people were saying, oh, there's a plant by the Trump campaign. They got to have a black guy in it to they can make it look like that. I think that's BS. But I think he had his own thought of, we have to show that there's more than just white people doing this stupid shit.
I love that idea of it. Equality of opportunity turned on its head. No. Remember, all the different races that support Trump are assholes. We don't want to just let you think that it's just white people who are assholes that support Donald Trump. Yeah, and by the way, JR, we forgot. That guy's black, so we're supposed to be on his side. That's what I hear the right wing say. I think they think that that's how we think. Oh, okay. Oh, you kick somebody. Oh, he's black. So let him go. Knuckleheads. Okay, let's go to another story on violence regarding Trump. They're endless, unfortunately. Okay. Now, there's been a lot of violence in the Trump rallies. So wait till you see the montage we have at the end. But we're hearing from the Republicans, especially the head of the RNC, Reince Priebus, that it's not Donald Trump's fault. It's the media's fault. Go ahead, Reince.
If we're being fair here, and it's nothing against you or anyone, but you know when cable shows are on a constant loop on, a couple knuckleheads pushing each other and a 24/7 loop, I mean, you create an environment, I think, that just adds fuel to the fire.
But shouldn't we focus on it? Shouldn't we highlight if there's violence at events, at campaign events? And it's only Donald Trump's. Shouldn't we mention that?
No. Mentioning it is fine. I'm questioning the 24/7 loop. I'm questioning 3 hours in prime time at night every day talking about it. I mean, I get it. It's news. I'm not questioning it's news. I'm not. But it's the obsession that I think that also adds to the problem.
Yep.
Granted, both sides have to disavow violence. I'm not saying that. But I do think that the media is obsessed to the point of it being very noticeable and almost bizarre.
Oh, yeah, bizarre. Wait till you see the closing montage, like I said. We'll see if it's really both sides that are doing it, or if it's the media, or if it's perhaps Donald Trump. But first, let me lay out a couple of other possibilities for you guys. First of all, Donald Trump over the weekend started talking about Second Amendment rights. Now, look, everybody can talk about Second Amendment rights. When Trump does it, given the violence at his rallies, you start to get concerned. But let's be fair. Let's take a look at what he said.
We're going to win with education. We're going to win by knocking the hell out of Obamacare, terminating it, coming up with something much less expensive, much better. We are going to win in every aspect of our lives. We're going to win so much. We're going to win with our Second Amendment. We're going to win big league with our Second Amendment. We are going to keep winning at every level. We're going to win so much that you're going to come and you're going to say, Mr. President, we're winning too much. I can't stand it anymore. And I'm going to say, I don't care.
Okay, no, I pardon him. Okay, he didn't mean, hey, bring your guns and deal with the protesters. He's just the usual third grader himself. We're going to win big league with the Second Amendment. I don't even know what that means. Okay, all right. So, but now his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, is involved in yet another scandal where he roughed up yet another person. Now, earlier it was Michelle Fields, who is a reporter for Breitbart. Their apology for that was, oh, we didn't know she worked for a conservative website. Oh, so you assumed she was a reporter that was just doing her job when you threw her around and bruised her arm, etc. And eventually they never admitted it, and she was the one who had to step down from Breitbart. The whole thing's grotesque. Now, he's grabbed another protester by the collar. We've got video of it. Let's watch.
Corey Lewandowski, the man in the navy blazer there, caught on camera in what appears to be an altercation between Lewandowski and a protester at a rally last night. You can see on the video Lewandowski apparently pulling the man's collar as a member of Trump's security detail then grabs the protester from behind. The Trump campaign responded saying this, quote, the video clearly shows the protester reacting to the man who pulled him, not to Mr. Lewandowski. Mr. Trump does not condone violence at his rallies, end quote.
He's even got security in like sweatpants, those jumpsuits like that they wear on The Sopranos. Okay, now if this was the first time Lewandowski had done it, I don't know. There's a lot of reports of him apparently doing this and being very aggressive in the past, but clearly we now have Fields and this person on tape that he's done it to. So if it's true that Donald Trump is not in favor of violence, he's going to reprimand him, right? Well, he's going to get asked about it from Stephanopoulos. Let's see what he answers.
Because the security at the arena, the police were a little bit lax, and he had signs. They had signs up in that area that were horrendous, that I cannot say what they said on the sign, but the ultimate word, and it was all over the camera, and frankly, the television cameras can't take it, and they can't do anything about it, and I will give him credit. Spirit. Now, he didn't touch. He wasn't.
Well, the video does show that he touched him. Your private security pulled him, but it does show he grabbed the collar.
I mean, I give him credit for having spirit. He wanted them to take down those horrible profanity-laced signs.
When your campaign manager assaults someone and you say, by the way, for the second time, and you say, well, I give him credit for having spirit. Now, he said on many occasions that he likes the passion of his supporters as they have physical altercation one after another with protesters. Okay. Now, if you don't believe me, luckily we have it all on tape. So this is a combination of CNN and JR. They didn't know where they worked together, but they did, to put together this video that gives you a sense of who might actually be at fault.
Are you comfortable, Reince, that Donald Trump has done everything he can to quell violence at his events?
Look, we're not a party that believes in violence. I think violence begets violence.
I was nice. Oh, take your time. The second group, I was pretty nice. The third group, I'll be a little more violent. And the fourth group, I'll say, get the hell out of here.
Look, we're not a party that believes in violence.
Maybe he should have been roughed up, because it was absolutely disgusting what he was doing.
I think violence begets violence.
You see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. Okay? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees, I promise.
Are you comfortable, Reince, that Donald Trump has done everything he can to quell violence?
You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. Guards are very gentle with him. He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing, like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Look, we're not a party that believes in violence.
The good old days, they'd rip him out of that seat so fast.
I think violence begets violence.
Get him out. Try not to hurt him. If you do, I'll defend you in court. Don't worry about it.
We're not a party that believes in violence.
I regret saying any of those things, especially the things that you have said about punching protesters, sending them out on stretchers.
No, I don't regret it at all. Some of these protesters were violent. Yeah, I'm not happy about that, and I would always express my feelings about that.
I think violence begets violence.
Gee, I wonder if it was the media that did all that, or perhaps it might have been Donald Trump egging on his supporters time and time again. The idea that you'd blame anybody but Trump is preposterous. Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. Cenk and Hannah with you guys, and we've got a great second hour for you guys. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is with me and Hannah, but I feel like we wind up debating more often.
We do debate a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it works.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We got that small debate, maybe a little large, medium, as my kids say. Maybe a medium-sized debate on the first story. We'll get to in a second. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe even a little one on the very controversial story that's up second. Okay. First, I want to let you guys know again, tonight at 8 o'clock sharp, we are doing election coverage. We've got the town hall, both Democrats and the Republicans tonight, same town hall event. So that's fascinating. That's going to be right here at tytnetwork.com/live. Plus, Jordan Chariton, our reporter, is in L.A., so he's going to join us on the set. So that's pretty cool. And Jimmy's going to be here and Wes is going to be here, so it's going to be a great election coverage. And then for all of you wishing me happy birthday, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Best way to get me a birthday present is tytnetwork.com/join. Become a member of the Young Turks. Best present I could possibly get. Okay. I don't know how many people are really clamoring to give me a present, but I'm just saying.
I'm sure a few people are excited.
And it also makes our coverage possible, so thank you. A couple of tweets for you guys. First one's from Stephen O. I think I know who he is, the audio guy. Hillary keeps a hit list and recites their names before she goes to sleep, kind of like Arya. That actually makes Hillary sound cooler. But
yeah, Arya's pretty badass.
Yeah, that's from Game of Thrones. Steve also a big Game of Thrones fan. Okay, Kyler Holland writes in, watch out, Cenk. I'm pretty sure she gave you a 7. They didn't mention any media people on Hillary Clinton's hit list. And I don't know how she views us. I know we have a very progressive audience. Wouldn't a Democratic nominee love a progressive audience?
I think so.
A giant, young, progressive audience? Wouldn't they love it?
I think so, especially a progressive who likes to get things done.
Well, if she didn't like us, I guess that would be bizarre, wouldn't it? Maybe speaks more to her than to us. Okay, Dwayne Garner says, today's TYT is just making me sick to my stomach. I live in America. Clinton sucks. Garland sucks. The DNC sucks. Thanks. But Dwayne, I hear you, brother. But you got to keep your head up because look at what Bernie Sanders has done with no name recognition. In the beginning, no money. Certainly no help from Washington, the media, anyone, right? Right. And he still is in a position where he still has a chance halfway through to beat Hillary Clinton. He made up a 50-point lead. That's Bernie Sanders. And it's not about Bernie Sanders. It's about the movement. That movement is a tidal wave, and it will crash on their heads, and you're part of that movement. So we have the future. I think there's almost no doubt about that. So yeah, they ignored us, then they laughed at us, but they're in the middle of fighting us now. You know how this story ends. It ends with us winning. So whether it's Wolfpack or TYT, come and join us, okay? wolf-pack.com. Join up for membership there, and then, of course, tytnetwork.com/join. Last one, guys. Rudy Bouquet writes in, as Cenk is fond of saying, change on the outside, continuity on the inside. Every fucking time. So, yes, we've got a lot of Garland supporters going, oh, yeah, liberal, sure. Okay, just looking at the facts. That's all I'm saying. And by the way, I'm also amused by that. Part of the reason why I read Rudy's tweet. They get mad at me for quoting Garland. Why do people get so mad at me for quoting them, right? O'Reilly gets mad when you quote him. Certain atheist likes to get mad if you quote him. I didn't say anything. Okay. And now, if you quote Garland, quoting all of his conservative positions, Democrats are not happy with that. Well, maybe they shouldn't have fucking picked them then. Okay, all right. On to second hour stories.
All right, let's do it. So following the BNP Paribas Open this weekend, Indian Wells' tournament CEO Raymond Moore commented on how female tennis players should get on their knees for male tennis players. Take a look at the video.
In my next life, when I come back, I want to be someone in the WTA because they ride on the coattails of the men. They don't make any decision, then they're lucky. They're very, very lucky. If I was a lady player, I'd go down every night on my knees and thank God that a Roger Federer and a Rafa Nadal were born.
Okay, so a few things before I move on to the next video. First of all, lady player, no. Second of all, telling a woman to get on her knees, double no. Third of all, Federer, 17 Grand Slams, Nadal, 14 Grand Slams, Serena Williams, 21 Grand Slams. Now let's see what else he had to say about lady players.
The WTA have a handful, not just one or two, but they have a handful of very attractive prospects that can assume the mantle. You know, Muguruza, Jeannie Bouchard, you could just go, they have a lot of very attractive players. And and the standard in ladies tennis has improved unbelievably. And if you go out...
Do you mean physically attractive or competitively attractive?
No, I don't. I mean both. Both. You know, they are physically attractive and competitively attractive.
All right. So he doubled down there talking about their physical appearance. Now, one of the competitively attractive players, Serena Williams, did respond to his comments. Let's take a look at that video.
I don't think any woman should be down on their knees thanking anybody like that. I think those remarks are very much mistaken and very, very, very inaccurate.
So I'm actually going to defend him a little bit, but boy, he makes it hard to.
Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit. Now, Billie Jean King also came out against his comments, saying that she was disappointed, that he was wrong on so many levels. Now, Billie Jean King, of course, being the co-founder of the Women's Tennis Association, who arguably a lot of the lady players should actually be thinking, because she did break barriers there. Now, the winner of the BNP Paribas Open this weekend, I always mess up his name, Novak Djokovic, did have an opportunity to respond to his comments. And this was really an opportunity for him to kind of, support women. And instead, he said why men should be making more money than women, commenting on how the stats are showing that we have much more spectators on the men's tennis match. He also said that their bodies are much different to men's bodies. They have to go through a lot of different things that we don't have to go through. The hormones and different stuff. We don't need to go into details. Ladies know what I'm talking about.
Okay. So let me jump in.
Yeah.
All right. So let me defend the lady thing, right? So I don't know if that's in that, is he Australian, Raymond Moore? Whether that's a word that's used more often in Australia. He sounded Australian. Or it's an old school way of talking. I don't think that's a big deal at all. Okay. I could be wrong, but that's my interpretation. Okay. And Are the men's tennis players better? Well, of course they are, right? But I don't think that's the issue here.
Right.
Do they get higher ratings? Do they draw in more people? I think that is an issue, and that is worth discussing. Let's hold that conversation. But before we get to that, let me tell you all the things I disagree with. So first off, don't ever talk about women getting on their knees, right? That's such a stupid way of putting it. If you didn't mean it that way, the minute that comes out of your mouth, you should be like, well, I don't mean it like that. I meant, that, hey, they're lucky that we're in the same sport. And even so, saying they're lucky, God, that sounds bad, right? Say, hey, it's great, we're in the same sport. And yes, of course, the men get better ratings. And so maybe that helps the women players. But they're wonderful and they're fantastic. And a lot of people watch women players in their own right. That would be one way to go. But then when you add in the attractiveness thing, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing for a guy sitting at home going, oh, yeah, she's hot. Yeah, have you done that? Have I? I don't know. I don't know that I've ever done that. But I'm just saying, but if you're involved in tennis and you've made these controversial comments, maybe he doesn't realize how controversial they are, but he had to know a little bit. And then they ask you in a follow-up, do you mean physical attractiveness when you're talking about that?
No. Yeah, I mean, they're hot.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't say that. That's so stupid. And for Djokovic, don't bring hormones into it. It's a bad idea.
He literally brought up periods. Like the one thing you were never supposed to bring up. He was like, oh, yeah, and I mean, they play pretty well for having blood coming out of their vajayjays. That's literally what he said.
Like, don't go anywhere near Trump. I mean, when you're talking about, it reminded me of Trump a little bit, his attacks against Megyn Kelly. So now on the issue, though, on the substantive issue of, well, the men's players do get better ratings, I believe. You have the numbers.
Okay, yes.
And is that a relevant comment? Right.
Okay, so his comment basically is getting into the fact, he's like, okay, I think we should be paid on how much sponsorships we get and how many viewers we get and things like that. Now, excluding Grand Slams, the ATP events get about $973 million versus women's who get $395, okay? Wimbledon, the men's final attracted 9.2 million viewers versus women's 4.3. But in the previous 2 years, the U.S. women's final was watched by more viewers than the men's, so they're definitely making a comeback there. And in 2015, the U.S. Open women's final sold out well before the men's. So people are getting more and more into women's tennis. And I think the problem is here when we talk about, we're comparing how many viewers they get to women's. They've had a lot more opportunities to get those viewers, right? So women's matches weren't played on primetime television until 2001. So only, frankly, a few years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you, first of all, have a huge disadvantage, tennis has been a sport since 1877. When you have a huge advantage time-wise to garner a bigger audience, and you're getting more money pumped into advertisement and more money pumped into having those players, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic all get way more endorsement deals than Serena Williams.
And hence more marketing.
Exactly, more marketing, and so they become more household names. Although I do have a graph here that Serena Williams is searched more on Google than Federer and Nadal combined. Or no, excuse me, Djokovic and Federer combined. I think we have that graphic, maybe 5B. Yeah. So she still is getting some sort of support behind her, but still not given the same opportunities as they are. Not enough to really justify the huge pay gap. Can we go to graphic number 7? That is really persistent in this sport. Mm-hmm. So you can see there, this is dollars earned versus the player ranking. Men still make a ton more money, even when you go down to lower rankings, than women.
Okay. So that is a compelling case, Hannah.
Thank you.
And my answer to that is not buying it.
Why?
Okay.
Why?
So first off, for the guys making this case, I don't know if I'm on that team, right? They couldn't have picked a worse sport because, like in basketball, there's a dramatic difference, not only in the play of the players, but in the ratings, the ticket sales, etc.
Right.
And so I don't know the WNBA exists if the NBA doesn't exist, okay? So they would have had a pretty good case in basketball is my point, right? But in tennis, a lot of the stars on the women's side are superstars, right? So it's not like people don't know Serena Williams. So on this, I'm agreeing with you, okay?
Yeah.
And I think tennis is as close a sport there is between men's side and women's side, right? I don't mean that if you take Serena Williams, can she beat Djokovic? No, of course not. But I mean in terms of star power, in terms of why people come out to watch tennis. And so are there a lot of factors involved? Yeah, sport matters. For example, bowling. Nobody's watching men's or women's bowling. It doesn't really matter, right? So I'm giving you all this context. But now, overall, they do rate better, right?
Right.
So you can find a couple of instances, and you have, where women have gotten a little bit better ratings or they've sold out quicker, and that is because they do have significant star power in Serena Williams and some of the others. But if the men are consistently rating better and drawing better, that brings in more revenue, hence they get paid more. That makes sense to me.
Of course they're going to get more revenue if they're getting better spots on TV, if more advertising is being pumped into promoting those games and things like that. Of course they're going to get more because that's how the money is being spent.
Right.
I mean, then
so
you
the
could
question
argue,
is...
wait, hold on, because then you could argue, like, well, women make 77 cents to the dollar to men because, you know, men do a lot more work, essentially. And they're, you know what I mean? You can make the same argument. You say,
no.
Okay, you're saying men vote first, right? So women didn't vote till whenever. Then they have more count to their vote because they really started the vote and whatever, because they were given an increased opportunity than these women were.
So I think that, again, context matters so much. So, for example, if we're looking at starting salaries at law firms, it's unconscionable for women and men to have different starting salaries because nobody knows how good they are yet, right? We're all hiring. They're all first-year attorneys. They should all have the same salary. So you can't say a man should get paid more or a woman should get paid more. That's preposterous. Now, later on, when people have to make judgment calls, we should be really careful how we make those judgment calls because of the unconscious bias that you're referring to, right? And the institutional factors at play. So those are great points, but it is still entirely possible that a man or a woman is better than the other person of another gender at that job and should get paid more, of course.
100%.
Right.
But I still feel like, especially in sport, first of all, most sports actually do give men more prize money than they do for the women's like equivalent, right? So that's already at the baseline. And tennis is actually one of the sports where they are trying to even the playing field, especially with pay, even though obviously, as you saw in that graph, we're not there yet. But if you're given so many more opportunities and they're having these advertisements pumped in, you can't even compare them at some point.
So, well, here's my point on that. And on the issue of television, you're right. Men had a big advantage coming in, and people are more used to watching men play tennis, let alone all the sports. On the other hand, women have been on TV playing tennis for a long, long time. I mean, and you can get into the issue of when they got the better slots, etc. But I would be very surprised if TV executives saw good enough ratings from women's tennis and decided, no, I don't want the extra money. Like if women's tennis did better than men's tennis, and of course they know that anybody who works in television is an executive
but it can't
knows
do as well.
knows the context of the time periods. Meaning that, hey, for example, if you're starting cable news, right, the lead-in is not going to get as well as the next show because it builds into the next show. In some cases, it's the reverse. So there's a prime time, and after prime time, there's a fall-off. Every TV executive knows that. And within that context, if women's tennis was doing as well or better than men's tennis, believe me, they'd change the time slot.
But I'm saying they're not. They don't even have the opportunity to even see if that's a thing that's going on because they're not putting the same amount of money into advertising, the same amount of money into making like these players seem like these bigger than life individuals. They're spending all that money on the men's side.
Yeah, so they might
so
be
they
wrong.
Can't compare it.
So Hannah, I'm not saying that they are definitively right and that there's no chance that they could be wrong about that calculus, but they are making that calculus, and that calculus, I believe, is driven more by profit motive, which, you know, we take that as for whatever you want to judge that or not judge that, more by profit motive than it is by institutional bias. But I could be wrong. Maybe we go and 10 years, 20 years from now, we realize, no, they were just assumed that the men were going to do better. But when they flipped the time periods or they flipped the marketing budgets, women actually did better. But I'd be surprised because it has been around for a decent amount of time. And I think that the profit motive is strong if it had already been the case they probably would have gotten to that point.
Yeah, and then I think you could get into the idea there behind, equating ratings to pay and all that kind of stuff. But yes.
But one thing we're super agreed on is if you're going to make an argument like this, don't talk about hormones and don't talk about people getting on their knees, because you're going to immediately lose the argument, because you're going to turn off everybody 100%. And have them go, this guy's an idiot, I'm not going to listen to him.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, all right.
Moving on. So a Georgia man who poured boiling hot water on a sleeping gay couple will not be charged with a hate crime. Now, Anthony Gooden and Marquez Tolbert were sleeping in Gooden's apartment on February 12th when Martin Blackwell, the boyfriend of Gooden's mother, walked in. Now, according to Tolbert, Blackwell poured boiling water on the men, causing severe burns that required surgery to treat. Now, Blackwell, who didn't live in the apartment, told Tolbert, "Get out of my house with all that gay shit." Further, he said to police when they were investigating, "They were stuck together like two hot dogs, so I poured a little hot water on them and helped them out. They were stuck like two hot dogs. They'll be all right. It was just a little hot water." But they were not all right, actually. They faced severe second and third degree burns. One of them had to spend 10 days in the hospital and 1 month in the hospital. And Tolbert relays the pain he endured in this heart-wrenching clip. Take a look.
It's the pain. You can't sleep at night. The first week I came home, it's like, I think I got about 10 hours of sleep that whole week. The pain doesn't let you sleep. It's like it's excruciating 24 hours a day. And it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't dial down or anything. It's just there.
Now, Blackwell, the person who really caused all of this pain for Tolbert, is currently in jail, and he's charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery. Now, despite the clear bigotry entrenched in his actions, he will not be charged with a hate crime, and that's because Georgia doesn't include sexual orientation in its hate crime, along with 19 other states in the U.S. In fact, Georgia doesn't even have hate crime legislation, along with Arkansas, Indiana, South Carolina, and Wyoming.
So I've got a couple of comments here. I have a unique position. I've never been a big fan of hate crime laws to begin with, and the reason for that is I don't like it when we start to get into the state of mind of the person. I know to some degree we have to. Did he intend to kill him? Did he not intend to kill him in a murder case, for example? So that's very important, and of course that matters in what kind of crime they're charged with. What I don't like is a crime of passion gets actually a lesser charge than a premeditated crime. So you catch your wife having an affair and you shoot and kill him. Oh, that's a crime of passion. You get less time for that. No, you shouldn't get less time for that. You murdered him. So so in terms of these hate crimes, this is a horrific crime. He should have the book thrown at him. I don't really, I care less about his frame of mind than I do about his actions. Now, having said that, if you're going to have hate crime legislation, and they do, regarding race and many other factors, should, how they identify themselves, whether they're gay or not, be part of that? Absolutely. I mean, if you got people who hate gay people enough to throw boiling water on them, and you tell me, no, that hate is not the same as racial hatred, I don't believe you. It's empirically not true. I mean, look at how many hate crimes there are against gay people already in this country. Based on sexual orientation, in 2014, we had over 1,000 incidents. That's more than 3 a day. What happened? I thought we had this problem solved, according to the right wing. We don't have it solved. So I don't want to distract from the main problem here, which is when states like Georgia put sexual orientation in a different grouping. It does not belong in a different grouping. If you're going to have hate crimes legislation, sexual orientation should definitely be part of that consideration.
No, I completely agree with you. And Georgia did have some hate crime legislation in 2000, and because it was too vague, they actually threw it away in 2004. But I do disagree with you about the hate crime component of it, right? Because The reason that hate crime legislation is really important is because a lot of the times hate crimes or crimes that are against people because of their race or sexual orientation or something that would fall within that legislation are too small for police to investigate and prosecute. And when they add the hate crime charge, they're more likely to go investigate it because then it's more of a terrorist act, because it's a terrorist act against a group of people really trying to fear an entire community, right? And so that's why I think hate crime legislation is so important.
So that's a compelling point, and I'd have to see it case by case to see, what it winds up being a misdemeanor without it and what winds up becoming a felony. But then people could make the argument, well, there's a reason why it should be a misdemeanor, right? Was there a physical altercation? Was there not a physical altercation? Because if, for example, if there's no physical altercation and some guy yells at me that I'm brown or I'm fat or I'm a Muslim or I'm whatever, you name it, right? Whether they're correct or incorrect, right? He's got every right to do that. It's America, and it's freedom of speech. But he doesn't have any right to intrude upon my body, right?
Yeah.
His rights end at the bridge of my nose, as they say in law school, right? And so that's why I think it's a tricky issue.
Yeah.
But if you have hate crime legislation, then it's not at all tricky to include sexual orientation.
Yeah, no, I think we both definitely agree on that component, that sexual orientation, of course, should be included in any sort of hate crime legislation. I think, accidentally spilling boiling hot water on somebody and spilling boiling hot water on people because of their sexual orientation, I think there is a huge difference there, and I think that should be reflected in the way that they are charged and the way that they are punished. Further, I think when we really get into a lot of the majority of hate crimes in the country, let's talk about graffiti, right? So writing your tag or whatever people write is one thing, and that could be, face some sort of fine or something like that. But going on somebody's house and putting a swastika or writing the N-word or something like that, huge difference, right?
Yeah.
And so those should be charged differently, and one's a hate crime and one is just, screwing up somebody else's property.
So that, again, a great point, and let me just clarify on the boiling water issue. I think intent does matter. If he accidentally spilled it, well, that's a totally different crime, negligence, etc. In this case, he admits that he intended to throw it on them.
Right.
If he there's perfectly legitimate to have either side of this debate. Some people say he threw it on them because he just didn't like them, should get just the same penalty as he threw it on them because they're gay. And others will take your position. No, it's worse if he did it because they're gay or they're black or whatever it might be, right? And I think both positions are totally defensible. But what's not defensible is the actions.
Right.
And what I want people to understand is the next time a right-winger tells you, oh, we're past that, why do you even talk about who comes out and who doesn't come out? Everybody already knows that's totally fine. No, everybody doesn't know that. There's still people in this country who are throwing boiling hot water. By the way, attempted murder is another possible charge here, which is much harsher than hate crime and should be considered. You throw boiling water on someone, you could kill them, right? They're lucky it was on I think on their legs. I mean, they're not at all lucky.
No, some of it is on his neck. And
I mean, if it had burned through. But if there are still people in this country that hate gay people that much, so ignoring it doesn't make it go away.
Right. Agree.
All right, let's go forward.
During South by Southwest, an Austin police officer was caught on camera pepper spraying a man who was already in handcuffs and already seated in a cop car with the door closed. Take a look at this video.
Oh, you poor baby. And that guy pepper sprayed him at close range and shut
Now, the Austin Police Department has launched an investigation into Cameron Caldwell, who is the police officer who's featured in that video. Now, just to give you guys some context, now the police department's code lists a number of cases in which chemical agents such as pepper spray shouldn't be used, including when a subject is under physical restraint, unless the subject is still aggressively resisting and lesser means of controlling the subject have failed. The code requires that officers also ensure that someone who has been sprayed remain upright with a clear airway to avoid possible positional asphyxiation. Now, obviously, as you saw in that video, the person was already handcuffed. They had already restrained him. He still sprayed him with pepper spray, and then he fell over backwards. And so, again, totally against the code here. I hope this officer faces severe punishment for what he did here.
So the guy seemed to get back up, but, you know, I don't know what the effect of pepper spray is if there's no windows and you just lock someone in there with the pepper spray. I don't know. I'm not at all convinced that those cops had studied that, right? So I'd be a little concerned if I was the cop, but then I care about people. So I don't know. He said, oh, we've been dealing with this guy for 20 minutes. Actually, if you weren't abusive to him, we would be on your side. That's a pain in the ass to deal with somebody for 20 minutes and he's still kicking the door. So we're not unaware of that. We get that, right? But you know, and I'm positive they'll make the argument that, well, he was under physical restraint, but he was still aggressively resisting because he was kicking the door. Come on, dude.
No.
When you have someone handcuffed, don't pepper spray him. It's not that hard a rule. It's not that complicated. He's handcuffed. He's not going anywhere. He's in the back of your police van. And so you're annoyed with him. That's why you pepper sprayed him. Not because you need to get him further under control. You already handcuffed him. Everybody knows that.
Right.
But they're going to deny. And, I mean, I don't know how Austin is. We've covered some stories out of Austin that were not good in the past. And maybe that's why they have these folks who are taping the police in the first place. And you'll have the idiot right-wingers who will probably get more mad at the chant at the end than they will in the abuse in the first place. But the bottom line is, if you got the guy handcuffed, don't go to other extreme measures. You know you don't have to.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I mean, I was at South by Southwest last year. You were there this year. It is just total mayhem. So I can understand that the police are probably under a lot of stress during this time. They're probably making a lot of rest, and they're probably annoyed. Like you mentioned, you had to deal with him for 20 minutes. But once you already have him in handcuffs and the door's closed, I don't know if he was kicking the door, right? But even if he was, that's not a reason to pepper spray somebody. You mean like, dude, like quit it. Or restrain his feet or something like that. There are other options to go to before pepper spraying, closing the door. And she even called him on that like bullshit response.
That door looks pretty solid. I think the door is going to be all right. And if you want to charge him with another crime, if he breaks the door, destruction of property, I get it, right? Totally. He's kicking the door, etc., right? If you're right about that. But you don't get to abuse the person who you already have under restraint because you're annoyed. That's just not how it works. By the way, you're right. I was at South by in Austin just really recently. Yeah. And I was on FaceTime with my family. And I was showing them all the different things. And then there was some cops nearby, just normal, like making sure everybody's all right. And I had a cop on camera, and it looked like I was taping him, but I was actually just FaceTiming with my family, right? And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, uh-oh, am I going to be in trouble here, right? And he's like, oh, man, I love your show. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So that made me partial to the Austin cops, but we still can't have this. Okay. Don't pepper spray somebody if you got them handcuffed. It's an easy rule. Yeah. Okay, next.
All right. So according to a recent poll in Britain, the majority of young adults would prefer internet over daylight, hot water, and a lot of other things. Now let's take a look here at this graphic. They asked 2,400 18 to 25-year-olds to rank the most important aspects of their life. They ranked freedom of speech as number 1 with 81%, then internet connection 69%, daylight 64%, then hot water, healthy diet, and some other important things I think come in at much lower percentages. Telephone connection, only 21%, ability to drive 17%, and a good night's sleep at only 11%. Now, before we kind of get into this, they were also asked what they'd most like to change to improve the quality of their life? The majority of them said holidays, then followed by more sleep, 28%. And then lastly, having a bigger following on social media at 14%.
Okay, we laugh, but we also have
follow
social.
us.
Yeah, I know, right? But follow us on Twitter, Facebook, etc. Okay, so well, that's part of our job. To be fair to us. No, I'm going to defend these guys.
Yes.
Now, so it's easy to say like, oh, fuck yeah, these millennials. But think about what the internet is. We often focus on the entertainment aspect of it, like, oh, they're just playing games, etc.
Right.
Number one, there's nothing wrong with entertainment. Are you kidding me? Americans, on average, watch, I think, 5 hours of television a day. It might have even gone up from that.
A day?
A day, yes. I think the number was 5. I might have seen a study that said 7, okay? Especially when you combine TV and the internet. So it is a stunningly high number, but we don't go around going, oh, older Americans and they're TV losers, right?
Right.
So number 2, the internet is much better than TV. And here's what I mean by that, because it has other components. It has a social component. You're talking to your friends. Talking to your friends is not a bad thing. Again, there's a lot of derisive talk from the older Americans, and in this case, Brits as well, like, oh, they're just talking to their friends. Yeah, so you're talking to your friends at a pub. They're talking to their friends online, right? Your friends down the street, their friend might be in Congo. Great. They're broader-minded, right? And the third thing the internet has, which is monumentally important, is information.
Yeah.
So whether you're getting your news from there, or you're researching on there, and I'm not naive enough to think that most of what 18 to 25-year-olds are doing online is researching, right? But do people research on the internet? Absolutely. Do they get information on the internet? That's their primary source of information for 18 to 25-year-olds. And to be, oh, yeah, that's where they get their information, like Facebook or Wikipedia. No, the newspapers are online.
Yeah.
All the information in the world is online. And in fact, when you think about it that way, the internet connects the whole world and has all the information in the world. Where else would you want to be?
No, I think you make a really great point. So I fall within this age group, and I was at a dinner party the other day, and we were having an intellectual conversation, and we had questions throughout the conversation, and all of us would just pull out our phone, Google the answer, and then it elevated the conversation to a next level because we were getting that information to inform what we were talking about. So I totally agree with you. I think, I agree with you that the internet provides access, provides me my salary. So there's a lot of things that I really appreciate about the internet. And as a kid growing up in that computer age, of course, for all my research, I went to the internet and to research what I was looking at, and now I get all my books on the internet. So I get where they're coming from here. I think it is funny to compare it to daylight. You know what I mean? When you think about all the benefits of going outside and vitamin D and all those things. But I agree with you that the internet provides so much more than we give it credit for.
Yes, you can also go outside and play football and use the internet at the same time. Well, not exactly at the same time, but do both things. But overall, if you made me choose between a healthy diet and an internet connection, it's not really close, as you can tell. Right? Healthy diet, a little overrated. That crappy food is delicious, right? Whereas I can't replace the information on the internet.
Yeah.
And there's a friend of mine named Jim Gilliam. He's a great guy and gave this speech online called "The Internet Is My Religion," and evangelizes for how the internet connects us all. I don't view that to be a bad thing. As a lot of the older generation does. Like they get annoyed by it because they don't understand it. I view it to be a wonderful thing, right? So the internet, we're on your side. Okay. Oh my God, we're out of time. Oh, geez, Lord mercy. Okay. No time for Bodie McBoatface. Okay, sad
Maybe
day.
We'll get to that tomorrow.
All right, another day. All right, guys, we got town hall coverage coming up in 13 minutes. Jimmy's here, Wes is here. Jordan Chariton for the first time in studio from TYT Politics. That coverage coming up for you momentarily and brought to you by our members, tytnetwork.com/join. Thank you guys, and bye-bye.